What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino. I know this is shocking that my voice, there's Casino's dog. This is shocking that I actually have a voice, but my voice is back, Casino. The sultry tones are now just back in a different form. You know what I'm saying? But you're back wearing the homemade beanie.
Dude, it is so comfortable. I'm never taking this off.
But big weekend in sports, and that's literally just football. We're also going to talk about World Cup, basketball, NHL. Huge episode. But first, let's start with a monumental moment. Number one, my voice is back. Number two, not only did I win football picks this week, I won by like 3 games. Oh. So this is, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had 8. Casino had 1, 2, 3.
I only got
4,
5.
5, 6. You had 7. But
okay, so
we both picked the Monday night game the same. So no, it does. I won by 1 game. I was hyping it up off the podcast like I destroyed him, but no. As far as before we get into the reviews or the breakdown of this week, the 3 games we could not have picked worse were we both picked Jets, we both picked Dolphins, we both picked Chargers, and let's see, in terms of games, those are the only 3 games we picked similarly, but we also, there you go. We also picked we both picked the Commanders and they tied. So that one I feel like that one doesn't count. But yeah. So what did you see in the Jets, Dolphins, and Chargers game that, lost our 3 picks for us?
Well, I guess I could start with the Jets. That one's an easy one. Is that Vikings defense was able to 5 field goals. They held him to 5 field goals in the red zone. The Jets outplayed the Vikings 100%. White is their starting quarterback. I sent you that immediately as soon as that game was over. I was like, Wilson's done. His career in the NFL is over. He's not going to be a backup practice squad, maybe.
Yeah.
But then again, he needs to go back to his number one profession, which is banging moms.
Brazzers. That's his next stop. Brazzers.
I mean, White looked really good. The one thing I want to say,
when it's white, it's right.
There it is. Oh God.
That would only be offensive if Zach Wilson was black, but he's whiter. He's whiter than Mike White, so it's okay.
Oh my gosh, that was funny. But did you? And with being white can also be very bland, like vanilla. Did you see his family in the audience? Or like every time they showed him, they were just like, the dad's like this. The mom's just like, yeah, just talking to other fans. Yeah. And it's like, your son, I know that he started a couple games the previous year, but like he's now the starter of a football franchise. Like,
but then again, they're probably embarrassed for him that it took 11 weeks for him to beat out Zach Wilson. Like they're probably like, until I see
our kid's a schmuck.
Yeah.
Compared to him. But yeah, no, that's what I saw in that game. Clear cut. Didn't say that the Vikings played bad. Because like I said, their defense played phenomenal, but that was the game. Was the Jets could not get in the end zone. They looked like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Brady and not being able to get into the end zone. But the Jets definitely outplayed the Vikings.
The thing I have about the Minnesota Vikings is when I'm watching games with them, like I just don't know how they're good. Does that make sense? Like they don't do, obviously Justin Jefferson is the one player on this team that like stands out, right? And he looks like he's not the best wide receiver in the league. That's Tyreek Hill by a mile. I don't care what anybody says, but he looks like he's a top 3 wide receiver in the league. And he's always making amazing catches and wide open and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to Cousins and even Dalvin Cook this year, I don't know, they both just seem off. Like the Vikings defense, we talked about it. They're like middle of the road. So this game was all about the red zone, right? Like they intercepted Mike White 2 times and both were in the red zone, weren't they? Like that was a good, and they have that's the thing with this Minnesota Vikings team. Their defense is average, but their red zone defense is actually really good, which I mean, would you rather have a bad defense that's great in the red zone or a bad red zone defense and a great defense? I feel like I'd rather have a great red zone defense because then you're keeping people out of the end zone.
But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened. So, yeah. And then, so I guess moving on from that game, what I saw with the Bengals Chiefs was Burrow. He's just the real deal. I honestly don't. I mean, Patrick Mahomes didn't really have the best game, but he didn't have a horrible game. He just didn't throw that much. 16 for 27, so only 27 attempts, which is low for him, I think.
Yeah.
223 yards, 1 touchdown, protected the ball, no INTs, but and rushing was I can never say his name right.
Perrine or whatever. Perrine. That guy's good.
No. Is that how you say it?
Who, the Bengals guy?
No. The Chiefs guy.
Oh, the Chiefs guy. Yeah. Paco. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, but 66 yards, McKinnon 51 yards. So like there was production receiving. Valdez-Scantling 71, Kelsey 56. So it was very well dispersed. Juju Smith-Schuster came back. He's got 35 yards. Chiefs didn't play a bad game. Just Bengals had a better game. Burrow went 25 for. What's up?
Well, no, I was saying Chiefs didn't play a bad game, but Joe Burrow, that was, to me, of all the games I've watched of his, that was probably the best game from him I've ever seen. He looked like
he was 25 for 31.
He looked like every throw, he was 0.5 seconds away from just being destroyed. And he just stood there and was just
he stays in the pocket. And that's the kind of quarterbacks that I like. I mean, not to knock on Patrick Mahomes. He's obviously one of the favorites for the MVP, as he has been for most years. He's really good at scrambling and getting the play downfield. But Joe Burrow stays in the pocket. He's not afraid to get hit. I mean, he's used to getting hit by now, being on that team, and not protecting him. But he went 25 for 31, 286, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. He actually attempted 11 rushes for 46 yards, 1 for a TD. He knows how to play against the Chiefs. Remember, we talked about that. I picked the Chiefs, you picked the Bengals, but I said I wouldn't be, if I recall right. I don't say why I wouldn't say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals won, and they did. Joe Burrow has his numbers. That's 3 times, 3-0 against the Chiefs.
I have a stat for you.
Everybody says Burrow against Mahomes, but again, it's not a single man's team. It's the whole team and the coaching. And Burrow can take down that defensive scheme. He just knows that team now.
Yeah,
he knows how to beat them.
So Patrick Mahomes is 1-5 versus the Bills or Bengals the last 2 seasons. So he is 1-5 against Bengals and Bills. The only time he has beat one of those teams.
AFC championship game.
Yeah. Well, the only time he has beat the Bills was that game last year where it was 24 seconds or whatever. And that was just like, that was a game where everybody hated the ending of it so much. They literally changed the rules. So the offense gets another shot. So that was, I mean, all credit to Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. But again, I feel like that game also has a tiny asterisk just because of how it ended. But yeah, I mean, 1-6 against Bengals and Bills. We've been guilty of it on this podcast, but we always hear people, and I've said it myself, where the Chiefs look unbeatable. Well, they do look unbeatable, except when they play 2 teams. And that's the Bengals and the Bills, both of which they've lost already to this year. So I don't know. Also, if you See, the crazy thing about this is Patrick Mahomes always loses to the Bengals. But if the Chiefs and Bengals play in Arrowhead in the playoffs, the Chiefs are going to be favored and everybody's going to pick the Chiefs.
Well,
So it's like
I would pick the Chiefs still. I don't care what Burrow has done. I mean, playing in Arrowhead, I'm being a Patriot fan. I've known that even the good Belichick teams struggled and lost a couple in Arrowhead.
even against
like,
Alex Smith Chief
dude,
teams.
yeah, Arrowhead is just it it was beat by Seattle, and then now I think it re-beat Seattle on the loudest stadium. Is that correct?
I believe
That
so. Yeah.
yeah, that's how it was. I think when the 12th man started up and Seattle was like, yeah, we're sports fans. We don't have a crappy baseball team or football team. Woohoo. Um, anyway,
You know what's crazy? Speaking of one of those, have you seen that like graphic or poll going around that who has had the best attendance of all NFL teams this season? Have you seen
No.
that graphic?
No, who is it?
I'll give you $50. You get one guess. What team do you think it is? Best attendance this season.
Give me one sec. I will say the Raiders because it is Vegas.
It is the Colts.
Whoa.
That's what I'm saying. The Colts, like they did the attendance things.
The Colts we talked about, they're not a bad team, but they are a bad team.
I mean, we looked at them we'll talk about that game, but they look, I mean, I'll save it for that game. But last game we're going to talk about before we start diving into the other games is the 8-4 Miami Dolphins lose to the now 8-4 San Francisco 49ers, 33-17. We both picked the Dolphins. We both thought that this Dolphins team was in contention for best team in the AFC, but
I'll be honest, Tua did not have the best game of his career.
No, he threw two INTs.
Two INTs. He was almost just shy of he was just over 50% completion. And, I mean, yes, he has 2 touchdowns and he threw for just shy of 300 yards. But you can't turn the ball over.
Well, no, and this game we talked about on last episode through my raspy voice. I read off how impressive San Francisco's defense is, specifically their run defense. And they only held Raheem Mostert. Is it Mostert? Mostert? We are so bad with names. We're so white when it comes to pronouncing names on this show.
If it's not Wilson Smith.
Yeah. Even though we do nail Tua Tagovailoa every time we say it. So that is impressive.
Nope.
All right. Well, I nail it every time I say it, but so yeah, the Dolphins held to 33 rushing yards. I think that was really the tail of the game because then it all just comes down to Tyreek Hill, who, I mean, he had 9 receptions, 146 yards, and a touchdown. So it's not like, again, they didn't contain him at all, but he just wasn't enough to win the game.
And then, I mean, the biggest talking point about this whole thing is Jimmy G is out. He is done. He broke his foot. And you sent a message to me, and you couldn't be more accurate. Just feel bad for the guy.
Yeah.
He has taken so much shit for not being – he's not the best quarterback, but he's better than more than half of them. I'd say he's a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion.
I mean, this season, there's – who if you had to name 10, I feel like you could get to 9, and then you'd be like, it has to be Jimmy G.
That's right, kind of where I'm at. But I feel so bad for him. Like when they drafted the other quarterback, why am I blanking on his name?
Trey Young.
Yeah, I mean, when they drafted him, I was like, okay. But when they made him the starter and was like, Jimmy G, you're the worst, get out of here. But we can't trade you. So
or Trey Lance. I'm sorry, what did I say? Young.
Trey
Lance.
You're thinking of basketball already.
Yeah,
it's all good. But I felt so bad for the guy, but he took it off the chin. Like that exit interview last year when he was like, this is probably going to be, my last game. I just want to thank everybody, blah, blah, blah. He was totally fine with it. I mean, fine with it. So it's really sad to see him go out, especially now because he was bringing up his trade capital. Now with a broken foot, everybody's gonna be like, well, can he throw the football? Can he play football again? He's injury prone. Do we now spend money on him? So it really hurts his future going forward. It shouldn't, but it's going to.
It 100% will.
But how about Brock Purdy? Purdy, is that how you say his name? Purdy?
I believe so. Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant. I think he was the first ever Mr. Irrelevant pick. So Mr. Irrelevant is the last pick in the draft. He was the last ever pick, or he was the first ever last pick to score a touchdown in the NFL. So that is.
Oh, sorry. I just saw something pop up on CBS Sports. CBS Sports, should the Niners claim Mayfield? We're just talking about the Niners, so let's talk about it. No.
The Packers this morning, or the Panthers this morning waived Baker Mayfield. They just cut him.
So I just saw that coming. Look what Purdy comes in and do cold off the bench. I mean, he's technically the third stringer. He went 25 for 37, 210 yards, 2 TDs. Yes, he had an INT, but that's just chalk that up to being a rookie. Well done.
I mean, that's crazy for especially a 7th round pick to come in. And again, the Dolphins don't have the worst defense in the league, but they also, it's not like a pushover defense. Their defense is, let's see, 25th in the league. So it's bottom of the barrel, but still it's still an NFL defense and you're a 7th round draft pick from Iowa State. Like, it's not like you're, used to seeing shit like this.
Last talking point. I think we talked last episode about McCaffrey not really showing up outside of that first game. I think we talked about that. He had a decent game. He was 66 yards on the ground, but he was also 80 yards in the air with a touchdown, with the receiving touchdown. Not bad. They had to definitely rely on him. I mean, that well done for him. Well earned win by the Niners. So now let me ask you this. Do you think with this backup quarterback, third stringer, they have a shot moving forward, or do you think they are done?
See, now we have talked about this a while ago, like a month or two ago, where we talked about, remember we played that game where I had you guess NFL coaches like winning percentage and their records and stuff like that.
Yes, I remember.
So Mike Shanahan I feel like he's an overrated coach, and kind of the team that's built around him is just really fucking good. And they always have a great defense. And then they have like a nicely schemed offense, right? Which is where he gets all the credit for. But he also has people like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Jimmy Garoppolo that everybody hates for some reason, but literally all he does is win. And Mike Shanahan has a losing record when Jimmy G isn't his starting quarterback. So that, I feel like, is the main takeaway from this. We both like Jimmy G more than he gets credit for. But also, I feel like I know that I don't like Mike Shanahan as much as he gets credit for. And I think the numbers speak out on that. So him without Jimmy G, he has a losing record. Well, now he doesn't have Jimmy G. He doesn't have Trey Lance. He has a third string quarterback, which I feel like any coach would be like, fuck. But so I'm not going to give him.
We'll see how this one goes.
I'm not going to shit on him for not doing well with Brock Purdy, but he also plays. So this is the 49ers' next 5 games. They have the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Commanders, the Raiders, and the Cardinals. So it's not like a murderer's row schedule they have next. I mean, I would be scared.
There'll be some tough games, but some teams play you tough, but
Yeah. Like, I would be scared right now to play the Raiders. I feel like the Raiders are really hitting like their stride. I mean, it's kind of all for naught, but they're still, they've won 4 in a row or something like that. They actually look pretty good. Seahawks, obviously you're playing like the winner of that game probably wins the division. So that's like going to be like a big divisional game, and it's going to be in Seattle, which makes it, tougher, as we just talked about with that crowd, especially with a 7th round pick going into Seattle. And then you have, I just lost it. I'm sorry. Which ones did I say? Oh, the Cardinals are a dumpster fire, so you should beat the Cardinals. And then you have, let me pull it up. I just lost it. So you have the Commanders, who are feisty, right? We just saw them go to a tie, but they were on a 3-game winning streak, beating my Eagles. And then you have, then you end with the Cardinals, and next week they play Tom Brady. So it's not the hardest schedule, but there is 3-4 out of the 5 games they could potentially lose. I don't think there's any way they lose to. I don't think there's any way they lose to the Cardinals unless they're just resting everybody and they don't care. But yeah, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Commanders, Raiders. Those are tough games, especially to get those teams where all of them kind of feel like they're playing. Maybe not Seattle, but Raiders, Commanders, and Bucks all feel like they're playing the best they've played all season in the past couple weeks. I don't know. But how far do you think, but to answer your original question, how far do I think this 49ers team goes? I really think we have to see them against the Bucks, because the Bucks have a top 5 defense. Now the 49ers and Mike Shanahan have a week to prepare with Purdy as their starting quarterback. And we just have to see how he handles an actual good NFL defense. So I feel like I'll make a decision on the Niners after next week, because right now I have no fucking idea. How about you?
No, I think that's a great spot to be tested against, being the Bucks. As you said, their defense, good defense, offense, hit or miss. They could be good, they can't be good. So you never know. You might have to play from behind, depending on if we talked about this last. I always say that we talked about this last, but Brady not being a bad quarterback. It's just the receivers not catching, and they have no running game. But they could put up some numbers, and you might have to play from behind, which would be, all right, what can you do from playing from behind? So we'll see. Was I really impressed with Purdy on what he did against Miami? Very much so.
I agree.
So yeah, we shall see.
The one thing, and then we'll get off this game, the one thing I disagree with you on or whatever is Christian McCaffrey. This has been the first game where I felt like he had a good game, right? He had 8 receptions, 80 yards, a touchdown. Well, no, the first game where he had 4 touchdowns was great. But remember, there was 2 games in the middle there where he had 30 yards during the game. So I want to see this Christian McCaffrey, because I feel like this one is much more realistic than the game where he got 4 touchdowns, right? This seems like a game where he gets 5 to 10 receptions. He rushes maybe 15 to 20 times. And then you just kind of build your offense around him, especially with, a 7th round quarterback coming in who is played good in this game, but now a team has a week to prepare for him. A good defense.
As soon as Garoppolo went out, McCaffrey was like, "Damn it, it's the Panthers all over again."
Yeah,
give me pretty the football.
Much. I mean, it might be. Do you percentage guess? You think the Niners actually signed Baker Mayfield?
Oh man. I think it's higher than I want to admit. I honestly think it'd probably be maybe a 33% chance, maybe about a third chance. And I honestly think McCaffrey would die. I honestly think somebody would go have to talk him off the Golden Gate Bridge or something. Again, hope that's not the case. But dude, he was so happy to get out of the Panthers.
I honestly think
he would cry himself to sleep.
I think my percentage points, I really think it's 55%. I really think they sign him. I think they sign him as early as tomorrow. I just think, because they also just need depth at the quarterback position. There's no trade deadline. So who the fuck do you get?
But you said it. Okay, but see, So say they do get him. Would you still, if you were the coach, would you play Purdy or would you play Mayfield?
Oh no. I'd go in with Purdy until he
Purdy
has
knows the playbook. He's
yeah.
studied it. He's still. You go with him one game. You give Baker Mayfield, you know, 2 weeks to study the playbook. And if Purdy doesn't perform, you put him in. But if Purdy does perform, you're like, all right, well, you're gonna stay the backup.
Yeah, pretty much. Or you what is it? You sign Mayfield and then you put him when you're resting all your starters because the division's locked up and you can't change your position in the playoffs. You start Mayfield against the Cardinals. You see if he just goes off and has like a great game, and then you try to trade him for some picks. Boom. Solution. Go. But also, I also think just the Niners have.
Those were 3 good games to talk about to start out. That was good.
Yeah. So I think 3 of the most interesting in terms of the storylines coming out of them. Now let's get to the rest of the games. And my favorite game of the day, Casino, I feel like both our favorite games of the day was the 5-7 Cleveland Browns against the 1-10-1 Houston Texans. The Browns win 27-14. Newsflash, you can't just step away from the NFL for 2 years and then come back in and be good again, because Deshaun Watson had
awful.
A fucking bad game. Like, this is a bad game. How they won 27-14. Oh. Yeah.
It was bad.
So you go first, Casino. Talk about what you saw from the returning hero Deshaun Watson.
Really not that much, because he didn't throw that many times. He pretty much just handed it off to Chubb and Hunt.
Which is why they won.
Carries, Hunt 9 carries. No, another reason why they won though was their defense actually produced. So they had 2 interceptions. One went back for a touchdown. Like their defense is what kept, like, honestly, what won them this game. Because it was not Watson at all. He was 12 for 22, no touchdowns, 1 INT, 131 yards. That is low.
Yeah.
He did have to scramble a couple times. 7 for 21 yards. He looked awful.
No, he did.
Man, he looked awful. Put Jacoby Brissett back in. Just put him back in. But you can't, because you literally broke the bank for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Maybe if anything, this NFL offseason taught us that you don't give $250 million to quarterbacks that have never played a snap for your team. Like we saw, I mean, we'll get to the disaster that continues to be the Denver Broncos, but this game, even if he would have come out and threw like 2 touchdowns and was like 150 yards and these same, like on 12 for 22, if he would have been 12 for 22, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, people would still be like, for real, you paid this guy $250 for that when you have Mike White throwing for almost 400 yards, blah, 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 blah. But no matter what, if he came out and threw 5 touchdowns, 500 yards, then people would be like, that's what you spent the money on. That's what you spent the money on. Those are like best case and worst case scenarios. This is worse than worst case scenarios, which is I watched way more of this game than I thought I would, just because I wanted to see how good or bad he was in it. There was very little good. Like all his passes were, even the ones he completed weren't good passes. They were just, man. And this INT, it was was this the red zone one? I can't remember how he threw this INT, but this was not a good game, literally, but on just any.
I didn't watch all that game. Every time I tuned in when I knew that Cleveland had the ball. I didn't see the INT, to be honest, but because there were still other games that I actually wanted to watch. But just watching it was just, he just kept getting rid of the ball. He didn't want to have it in his hands, and he looked like he hasn't played in 3 years.
Yeah, which is exactly what we thought he would.
I'm
And
so happy that it turned out this way. And again, it's really not because yes, his off-field antics I'm not happy with. Like he's a horrible person. Um but I just, as I said, previous episodes, I just wanted to see him do bad because I wanted people to shut up where they're like, "Oh, he's still a good quarterback." I'm like, "No, any quarterback taking 3 years off the football and they come back in, they're not going to be good." And
yeah,
that's what happened. And I'm very happy it happened just on the football standpoint of it. Yes, obviously I'm happy that it didn't happen because he's a piece of shit, but I'm really happy that it showed that you can't just not play in the NFL for, he looks like these are rookie numbers.
oh
These are
yeah,
bad. These are bad rookie numbers.
yeah. He
Um,
looks like he
I'm
hasn't played
really,
football in almost 3 years.
yeah. I mean, I
Like,
don't know how many times we're going to say that. I mean, we'll say it again. He hasn't played football in 3 years, but there's a dead horse next to me, and I'm just going to keep beating. I'm going to keep saying that because he has not played football in 3 years. It is what it
yeah.
is. He's
And they
awful.
tried to get him out in space. Like, I mean, on the run, he was usually, great before he had all his massage issues and stuff. But this time, first play of the game, he rolls out and just overthrows some guy by 10 yards. Like, it didn't look good. It looked like he was rusty. I mean, how could you not be? Especially when uh you're getting that many massages, which means you're not focusing
He's
on
got a lot of
football.
groin issues, man.
Yeah.
Be easy
I
with
mean,
him, though.
uh, uh, well, now he's going to have a lot of groin issues from just NFL teams just kicking him in the dick and just making him have terrible fucking games. Which, ironically, he actually got hit a couple times in this game. He's probably sore, right? Monday morning, he's probably sore. Now, what can he do? Nobody's going to take his call. If you walk into the room and you see Deshaun Watson now, you're like, I can't give you a massage. And except why? Like, none of the massages he got were from dudes. That's also a red flag, right? Red flag. Because I'm
I
sure
mean,
there's a bunch.
I haven't got that many massages, but in my life, to be honest, but uh, I've had the majority of the ones I've had have been from guys, and I'll be honest, the comparison, and this is not me trying to be sexist or anything like that. Um, I have actual deep tissue issues, and they were able to get and work it out better. So, I mean, if you're a professional, like this is not me trying to be funny or silly. If you're a professional athlete, you would probably want somebody with a stronger hand or something like that that can actually
That's
apply
a good
more
point.
pressure. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that some women don't. I'm throwing that out there. But I mean, that's true. It's true.
Yeah. And you're not even counting all the massages I've given you,
No, I'm
which,
not.
and I have a gentle touch. So, that we can move on to the next game. Also, I've never gotten a massage because I don't like people touching me. And my wife knows this. She will try to give me a massage and I'll just tense up. It makes me tense.
No,
I don't
I
like people
agree, and
touching me.
that's why I haven't had too many. But after my car accident years ago, that's when I started getting them, and
They're
the few
delightful.
that I've had, yeah, I needed to get those done. But I'm with you right there. I'm not too big on don't touch me.
Next up, we go to,
That's a little side note into my life right there, everybody.
I mean, that's casino massage facts is what I look for on every podcast we do together. I'm glad we
should.
finally got to it. Yeah. But
The
uh,
longer you listen, the more secrets you'll get from me.
next up, we have the 5-8 Green Bay Packers winning 28-19 against the
Ugh.
now 3-10 Chicago Bears.
Ugh.
I get a lot. I get maybe 90% of the things I say on this podcast wrong. I fucking nailed this one to a T. I said the Bears would be winning all game, and then all of a sudden the fourth quarter would come and they would lose by double digits.
So
Exactly what
you
happened.
called it. You called it, and I mean, I wasn't. I did want the Bears to win this. But if you remember what I said, I
do remember what
said
you said.
the Bears they're in the games, and they like the Browns, they'll lose it at the end with Jacoby Brissett. But I was hoping this game they wouldn't. They still did. So
Yeah.
I was right there with you, but I was just trying to be
Hoping.
a little more optimistic that the Bears could pull it off. But it's still their MO, and it shows. And Rodgers still has their number, and everybody's still saying after this game, "Oh, Rodgers is amazing." Woo-hoo. It's like no, he's fucking not. He didn't even really have that bad.
No, he didn't have a good game at all.
Only one touchdown.
Less than 200
not at all.
yards against a Bears defense we've seen just get annihilated the past couple weeks. Like, and plus,
Justin Fields didn't. I mean, Justin Fields threw two INTs, but he was 20 for 25, 224 yards. He outplayed Rodgers outside. Yes, he had the two INTs, which just sucks. But that's how they lose their games. But
yeah,
whatever. I still prefer Justin Fields over a lot of quarterbacks.
Going into the fourth quarter, this Bears team was up 19-10. And then the Packers scored 18 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Like, I hate Rodgers.
The dagger to me was when they got that 2-point conversion to make it a 9-point game. I was like, ugh. I'm like, it's over. And I flipped the channel. I'm like, it's done. There's no way.
This was maybe, like you just said, despite the two INTs, this was maybe the best Justin Fields passing game we've seen. He had a couple like deep throws that were absolute dimes. Like real, and then he also just like we've talked about how certain quarterbacks each game you can count on them doing one thing. And Justin Fields, you can count on him doing a running play where he just runs straight up the line, and you're like, oh, 5 people have a chance to tackle him, and then he literally just runs right past him, and then it's like always like in this one he had 6 for 71. What was that long one?
55 yards.
Yeah, see, like that. That play was incredible.
That was phenomenal.
He's obviously my quarterback,
leading rusher for the game.
Yeah, obviously my quarterback is Jalen Hurts, but I think Fields is the best running quarterback in the league. Like, just the way the runs he busts out are just always crazy impressive. I really do think
he's my new Marcus Mariota.
I'll tell you what, I like watching him play. I really do. And I think this Bears team, if they get a couple defensive players to like shore up that defense, I think they're a real threat next year. Like, give Fields a year to figure it out.
Just don't trade him away for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. We do Raiders price watch.
Let's talk about that. Didn't that guy get knocked out for the game as well?
What, Claypool?
Yeah, Claypool's done, right?
I didn't see anything.
He took a nasty hit from what I remember.
But Casino, we do Raiders price watch. Let's also continue our Chase Claypool receptions and yards watch. So have you seen it?
Oh, so apparently he did come back in, but he suffered a knee injury during the game. I knew he suffered an injury. I remember him going off. So just from here on out, he's still not going to be 100%. So woohoo.
Did you look at his stats yet for the game? Don't do it.
Claypool's?
Yes. No, he also had a fumble in the game when he got injured.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm seeing his stats now. Sorry.
Oh,
it was already on the other page.
But again, 5 receptions, 28 yards, no touchdowns. He had a fumble when he got injured, so you can't really give him shit for that. But you can give him shit for his stats since he came. I mean, everybody said it. We were one of them where we were just like, finally, Justin Fields is going to have like a good wide receiver to make up for, the Bears having no wide receivers. And turns out Chase Claypool just went right into the Bears wide receivers mindset instead of what he was on the Steelers, because he has just looked bad. Like every game with the Bears, he has this season he has.
He's been awful for them. Awful.
32 receptions, 311 yards, 1 touchdown. Has he even caught a touchdown as a Bears quarterback or as a Bears wide receiver? I don't think he has. Because those are his season stats, not just with the Bears. Let me pull them up right here. Season stats. Oh, here we go. So let's see. He has When did he get traded to the Bears? What week?
Oh shit, I don't know.
Uh, let's see. The Bears. Okay,
Before the
so I
trade
think it
deadline.
was against the Dolphins, I want to say. So what do you think, Casino? He has played, let's just cut it off at the Dolphins game. Even if he played before, it wouldn't change this argument. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the last 5 games, what do you think his most receiving yards in a game has been? Past 5 games.
Collectively?
No. The highest one.
Oh, like the longest single.
In a single game, the most receiving yards he's had since he's been on the Bears.
Collectively for the game.
Yes.
78.
The most he has had was last week at the Jets, where he had 51 yards on 2 catches. Every other game, he has had 13 yards, 8 yards, 11 yards. Against the Packers, he had 28 yards. Has not caught a touchdown with the Bears. What? Oof. I mean, how do you go? He wasn't having a good year with the Steelers either, but that's because the Steelers were trying to figure out who they were going to have as quarterback. Like, I don't know, man. That just seems like what a bust that everybody thought was like, this is the solution to the Bears' problems, and
not their defense at all.
Ugh, just rough. But let's move on to the next game. Game of the week, Casino. 5-7 Pittsburgh Steelers at 5-8 Atlanta Falcons. I did not watch 1 second of this game.
I watched more than I wanted to of this game. And it's exactly how you see it on the stats. I'm sure you haven't pulled up right now.
Yeah.
Bad game. It was just bad. Neither quarterback threw for over 200 yards. I mean, Pickett was 3 yards shy. This was mainly a rushing game for both teams. Man, did Mariota look bad? I really don't even want to talk about much about this game. I was watching this game just because my picks, because we both picked Steelers. That's right.
We both picked Steelers. Yes.
Yeah.
Because Steelers defense.
Really not much to talk about this game. There's really not. This was a bad game. I can't believe I watched probably a solid 10 minutes of this game total. It was bad.
Steelers defense, 18th in the league in points allowed, but they just feel like they're a good defense when you watch them. They're 7th in the league in stopping the run, and they are 5th in the league at, they are almost bottom of the league in passing. So in terms of stopping it, so they're great run defense, bad pass defense. But when you're playing Marcus Mariota now, you'll look like you have a great pass defense, because he has definitely turned into a pumpkin. Ever since that Thursday night game where he just had a terrible, terrible game, and now he has just continued that trend, because I haven't seen him have one good game since. Like, he is just rough. In terms of Kenny Pickett, do you think, I feel like he's kind of figured it out. Like, I feel like he started rough, but obviously he's still a rookie, but he doesn't look bad. He doesn't look like
he didn't
quarterback
have
we were just talking about.
He didn't have great numbers. He was 16 for 28. Like I said, just shy of 200 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, those look like a good rookie numbers. They're throwing the football, but they're still protecting it, even though they're not getting their receptions down. Yes, we're mainly relying on the running game, but you know what? That's fine.
Well, also the thing on the Steelers is, who does he have? Like, I mean, Najee Harris, I feel like, has been a huge disappointment this year, because he was round 1 or 2 fantasy running back this year, and he has just not delivered at all. And then they have Johnson, who has been their best wide receiver. And yeah, Hayward's okay. Their tight end, I feel like I like better than he actually is, but
there's not a lot of going on here, sadly.
No. So
we'll see, though. I mean, we talked about it last. I think that they could pull off. It'll be tough, but I think they could pull off a winning record. And I'm really kind of hoping. Yeah, I'm really hoping for that. I actually like Mike Tomlin.
I do too.
I think how he handles a lot in his locker room mostly is good. I feel like he's a player's kind of coach. He had to just deal with that stuff with AB for the end of it, and that everybody was like, "Oh, does Tomlin just let anything happen in his locker room?" No. Outside, you take the AB situation out of there. It was AB that was recording in the locker room, right?
It was either that or Juju Smith
It
Schuster.
may have been Juju.
It was running. It was wide receiver issues just with that group, and then also you forget
but
he
still,
had that.
Just,
he had that 2 years where Big Ben was just a walking statue, but he couldn't bench him because it's like the Steelers legend or whatever. But yeah, I'm curious to see what this Steelers team becomes like in a season or two. Right?
I say 2 seasons. Kenny Pickett keeps progressing, which he feels like he is progressing. At least protecting the football, trying to at least. I'm interested. I don't know if Tomlin's got many more years there, but yeah. We talked way more on that game than I thought we would.
Let's just see, because your prediction that they will finish with their winning record. So Steelers play Ravens, Panthers, Raiders, Ravens again, and then Browns. So they would have
to. I think they'll beat the Panthers.
Yes.
And then you have to split with the Ravens, which I think is possible.
Now think that's possible. Lamar Jackson might be out.
Mm-hmm. No, I think he is out. I think he's done. So I mean, and then the Raiders, maybe tough. Who knows? So really, they've got 5 games left. 2 of them I think are for sure wins, especially if Watson keeps playing how he's playing, which we expect him to play. So yeah, I do think the Steelers can pull off a little rally here and go back above 500, which I would really like to see.
What, you think they finish like 9-8?
Yeah, I think 9-8 is a good spot for them.
I agree. I think they just look like they just have found whatever they are, which I'm still not even sure what they are. But remember, they scored 30 points against a pretty damn good Bengals defense. So they can score points. They beat the Colts. They just beat the Falcons. They got destroyed by my Eagles, and then they're an
up and down team still figuring out their identity, which is totally fine.
Which, you know what? That's all of us in life. Next up, we are going to... We talked about it a little already. I don't know if there's anything more you want to elaborate on this. The now 7-5 New York Jets lose to the now 10-2 Minnesota Vikings, 27-22.
I don't really need to talk about much more about this outside of what we did, but did you watch any of this?
I watched almost the whole thing. This was the game.
What about
in my hotel?
Those some of those white throws were just on point. Like the one towards
he's
the very
a good
end
quarterback.
Towards the very end of the game where they had already gotten stopped at the goal line and it was this same score and they just needed to get the touchdown and they got the ball back and they were driving to try to get it again. There was that laser through triple coverage that just split all 3 players.
Oh, on the 4th down pass or whatever?
Yeah. I don't know how that went. That was a beautiful throw. The kid's got a rocket. He's got an arm. That ball had to be thrown super hard, super accurate to get to that receiver because it was like what they call in baseball a frozen rope where it's just dead straight, hard as hell, and he got it in there. I like White a lot. I mean, still he's no Zach Wilson, number 1 in our hearts, but when it comes to football
and our pants
and who. But when it comes to football, I am all for Zach White. He was 31 for 57. He threw the ball 57 times,
which means they trust him. They trust him as a passer because this same offense, they were only letting Zach Wilson throw 12 times a game.
Yeah, he had 2 interceptions, but if you saw those interceptions, those were both batted up. They're not one of them I remember seeing distinctively bounced off the dude's like hand, chest area, and just like bounced up in the air.
Well,
Should have
and
been
the
caught.
second one was last play of the game. He's trying to throw it into the end zone to win the game, and it's
Yeah.
like that's a
So
low
I
percentage
I
completion
I
chance.
I take away those ints. That's whatever.
Yeah.
He still threw for almost 400 yards. Like, dude, White is their future,
He's
and now
legit.
they legitimately scare me. If they make the playoffs, teams better watch the hell out. This team could make the conference finals with White playing how he has the last two games. Truly, ooh,
Yeah. And remember,
Very-
they lost Brees Hall, their star, like rookie running back, who was definitely looked like he was going to be either win or be in contention for rookie of the year. Then they traded for James Robinson from the Jaguars, and he's not really done anything since he got there.
No, but
they found this random guy, Zonovan Knight.
Yeah, Zonovan Knight, dude. What a game. What a game. 15 attempts, 90 yards. Yeah, man. Let's go.
I also really like their wide receiver, the Garrett Wilson or whatever. That guy just like he looks like a star receiver when you watch him play. Like,
do you have his stats up or not yet?
Yeah, 8 for 162, no touchdowns, but
like
he was all over because I watched this whole game and he was just all of it. Yeah, he was jumping off the screen. He was so good. Like,
yeah, I was really impressed. I do think that if Jets make the playoffs, you have to be careful with this team. This team, honestly, now if White plays how he's been playing the last two games, which is good but not amazing, like it's right there just under great. This team could definitely make the conference finals. So this will be fun.
You know what's so funny? We're talking about the Jets and they lost the game, but we're talking about them in such glowing compliments that it's like they won the game. They actually lost to the now 10-2 Minnesota Vikings. Why? Me included. So I don't have the answer to this, Casino. Why does no one respect or give credit to this Minnesota Vikings team? They only lost 2 games. Both games they lost were one to the Eagles, one to the Cowboys, which you could make a case right now. Those are maybe the 2 best teams in the NFL, definitely in the NFC. So why does no one, including me, and I think you do give credit to the Vikings, but why does no one give credit to this Vikings team?
I mean, I give credit to them because, I watch a lot of their games, not just because Kirk Cousins is on my fantasy team, which, by the way, Fantasy Corner, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Because they're still getting the job done. They're not playing showy football where they're getting all the eyes on them. They're just winning games. So you have to give credit for a team that even if they're struggling, they win the game. Like they got outplayed against the Jets. They did. That's why we're talking about the Jets. However, they still won the game. Why? Because they got the job done. The defense was like, oh, we have to stop them at the goal line to win because our offense isn't playing too hot. We're not stopping them in the middle of the field. All right, let's do that. And they get it done. It's not flashy, but they get it done.
Not flashy at all. And if you look at on paper and from what you're just saying from when we watched this game, like nothing really stood out. Like it was 20 carries, 86 yards, 1 touchdown by Dalvin Cook. Their backup, Alexander Mattison, had maybe the best celebration of the year where he acts like he hurt his leg and then he goes down to all fours and then he just starts twerking.
Yeah, I hated every second of that.
100 really out of 100. I love it.
I hate it. I hate it.
But
that was disgusting.
Also, what was disgusting was Jalen Reagor, former Eagles wide receiver, catching a bomb in double coverage. That was actually well defended because the Eagles lost 3 games in his career because he couldn't catch a contested ball, and that's all he did when he was at TCU. So great to see the second he's not on the Eagles, he just goes back to catching contested balls in tight coverage. So great job, Jalen Reagor. Jefferson, 7 for 45, 1 touchdown. He was very quiet in that game. I don't even remember him making really That I don't remember him making 7 receptions, and I watched that whole thing. He was very quiet. But yeah, I think we've talked about enough about Jets. Vikings. We're both very high on the Jets, both very confused by the Vikings. Next up, a game we called, Casino. I'm pretty sure we said this was going to be a blowout. The 4-8 Jacksonville Jaguars lose to the 5-7 Detroit Lions 40-14.
We gotta call this. The Lions, again, they're not a bad team. They're not. They're a little streaky, but man, they're fun to watch. And they have such a good offense, man.
Dude, Jared Goff is a great quarterback. I'm going to say it, a great quarterback. I don't even say good. I think he is really great. Like,
he had a good game. I think he's streaky, but when he's on, look what he does.
Yeah. I mean, he this season, he has 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 3,000 yards, and a 65% completion percentage. Like, I think those are good numbers. Playing for a losing team, like, this gives me Gardner Minshew vibes.
I can't believe this game. It was -1.5 for Detroit.
I know. How did anybody look at this game and think the Jaguars had a shot? Well, the Jaguars have shown me nothing.
So here's the funny thing is it was -1.5 for Detroit, but the total over under was 51. It was like, you expect the Jags to score?
What? Yeah. What? The Jags would have to score 4 touchdowns to make that within that, or no, they'd have to score almost 4 touchdowns and like 2 field goals to make it within that?
Well, no. They would have to get somewhere around 3.5 touchdowns to be somewhere around 25 points, and then Detroit win with like 28 points.
No, because it would be within 1.5, so it'd have to be within 2 points.
Okay, well, 25, 28. That's very close. That's a 53. That's 2 points. So shut up. I'm right. You're wrong.
I mean, when it comes to math, I am bad. So I will give you credit on that.
25 plus 28.
Also, the crazy thing is that, who is it? Jamal Williams has 13 touchdowns this season. Like, just a crazy, or now he has 14. Just a crazy
he just got a touchdown. So,
yeah, he's had games where he scored in the past 1, 2, 3, 4. In the past 4 games, he has scored 6 touchdowns. Like, that's crazy. And he's technically their backup running back, right? Because Swift is their starter. But really, that's like a run by committee thing because they always have similar touches. But I'll tell you what, we talked about the Bears being a contender next year. If the Lions can be, again, find some pieces in the offseason, in the draft, in free agency.
If they could be a mid-defensive team, if they could be around 16th team in the league defensive, oh man, they're solid.
They would be 7-5 right now. They really would be. Maybe 8-4
easily.
Like, I love this Lions team, Jaguars team
defense all year.
Yeah, the AFC South is a dumpster fire.
To be 5-7, and having the worst defense the entire year, that's insane.
Yeah,
that is insane.
Well, because they just keeps the points they score is just crazy. They've scored 40. Remember, they almost beat the Bills on Thanksgiving. They've scored 31, 31, 31, 45, 36, 28, 38. Like, this team they just put, if they could literally hold teams under.
They also have a 0 on there from the Patriots. What's up?
But no, if this team could literally hold their opponents to like 4 touchdowns, they would win. That's crazy. That's a crazy stat. Next up, Casino. Let's go to the most boring way to end a football game. I wish they could do a rule to change this. The Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. The Commanders now 7-5-1. The Giants 7-4-1. That one comes in because they tied this game. I hate that football games can end in a tie. I fucking hate it. But I don't know what you could do to make it not end in a tie. Do the fucking college overtime thing.
I was literally just going to say, keep it how you keep it, 10 minutes. And if it doesn't work out like that, then literally just go 10-yard line, go back and forth.
Yeah. And you know what? To not fuck up like fantasy or the rule or the record books and stuff, be like, the second it gets to a shootout, these stats no longer count.
Correct.
And
that
then
would be great. Yeah.
Boom. And start them, I wouldn't even say at the 10. I'd say at the 25. So they're right outside of the red zone. And then just be like, you get 4 chances, no opportunity for a first down. If you kick a field goal and the other team scores a touchdown, you lose. The other team kicks a field goal, then it goes right back and just go back and forth. Like,
well, the field goal thing will just go on and on and on. I think it just needs to be done quicker. So just put them at the 10.
That's
touchdowns only.
Oh, I like that. I actually like that. Okay, I agree with you. 10-yard line, touchdowns only. You only get 4 shots. No penalties can negate that. It just moves you closer.
Yeah,
we should write NFL rules. We should. But in terms of this game, again, I didn't bring my Heineken, but Taylor Heineke, this is maybe his best game as a passer because
we're a fan, man. We're a fan. I mean, yeah, I'm a fan.
He converted like 3 4th downs to even get his team within a field goal
Daniel
to tie
Jones,
this.
You may argue that this was one of his better games. Like,
yeah,
there was no INTs from either player, which was great. Daniel Jones only missed 6 of his completion attempts. Heineke missed 14, but he threw the ball about 10 more times. But man, I mean, the yardage isn't impressive, but like you said, they got it done when they needed to. Heineke doing 4th down ones, man. Like this game was fun, and I'm happy, but also upset because my team, they got bumped. This in 2 weeks is now going to be the number 1, the Sunday night game for their rematch. And the Patriots Raiders got bumped off of that Sunday night. They're now the afternoon game, which I understand. These two still, I mean, it's like the continuation.
Yeah.
You know what they should have done? They shouldn't have called it a tie here. They go, okay, you play each other in 2 weeks. Whoever wins that game, 2 points. 2 wins.
That would be awesome.
We should write a rule book.
We should. If they were like, how
fun would that be?
That would actually be awesome. If they
whoever
were like,
this wins 2 games.
Yeah, and they're like, guess what? Next game, you're both starting at 20. Just because. It doesn't matter because it'd be the same as if they started at 0. But they'd be like, next game, you're both starting at 20 and just go.
For podcast sake, whoever wins the next game, they win 2 games. Ooh. We're gonna get rid. We're gonna get rid of the tie.
I like that.
We'll never refer to them as their tie, ever.
I like that. That's good. I'll tell you what, though. I think the Commanders are for real. I thought the Giants were slipping. This game kind of...
I said this was one of the best games Daniel Jones has played.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I still don't have... I mean, the Giants, they definitely shut me up this year. I thought they were going to be bad. So did you. So did everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't expect 7-4. Maybe reverse that 4-7. I didn't think they would win even that many, but Washington is still the better team between these two. I think Daniel Jones just had the better game, and it's still not even great stats. He only threw for 200 yards, but he protected the football, no INTs, and I think that's what saved him in this game is he protected the football.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, 1 INT, Washington runs away with this, in my opinion.
I agree. Well, also the Giants' schedule is just one of the most brutal in the league. It is brutal. They go Eagles, Commanders, Vikings, Colts, Eagles again. So that is as far as the Commanders go, I think they end up taking the last wildcard spot. I don't think Giants and Commanders both get into the playoffs, especially because basically their fate determines them playing each other. Like it was like the winner of this game, there was a 60% chance they made the playoffs. The loser, there was only like a 30% chance. So now that they tied, it basically still comes down to when they play each other again. The Commanders play the Giants, the 49ers, the Browns, and the Cowboys. So
And that's why I was saying, rightfully so, that this being the Sunday night game in 2 weeks on the 18th makes sense.
yeah,
It just does.
but let's go to the next game. If my computer will load, I should really write these down, but I never learn. Next up, the last of the morning games, or no, the second last of the morning games, was my Philadelphia Eagles winning 35-10 against the now 7-5 Tennessee Titans. The Eagles are 11-1. Before I do my rant on this game, Casino, what would you like to say?
I told you so.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why you think that the Eagles aren't gonna win the Super. If I was a fan of the Eagles, which I'm not, I can't stand them, but I cheer for them because of you. But dude, they are. I don't. You get your rant here shortly. I don't understand how people can say that they're not the best team in the league and how they're not the Super Bowl favorites. Blows my fucking mind. Blows my mind.
Well, I sent you.
I think it's just and that blows my mind.
I sent Casino this image this morning, which is according to ESPN Analytics, which I don't know what that is, but according to ESPN Analytics, the top 4 teams that are projected, and I think they did like 1,000, you know how they do like the computer programs that predict like 1,000 outcomes or some shit like that, with 50% chance to make the Super Bowl, it's the Cowboys. 41% chance to make the Super Bowl, it's the Chiefs. 35% chance to make the Super Bowl, it's the Bills. And then fourth on that list is the Eagles with a 30%. And then to win the Super Bowl, it's Cowboys 31, Chiefs 23, Bills 19, Eagles 13. Did I miss something? Has something happened where the Eagles aren't 11-1 and literally lost against a Commanders team because they got one of the worst face mask calls ever, and then their guy, when the Eagles were going down to score, caught like a 50-yard bomb and then immediately fumbled it? Like that, those were 2 plays that changed the course of that game, which the Eagles, what I'm saying is the Eagles could easily be 12-0 right now, and they beat this Cowboys team by 2 scores the last time they played them, which Dak Prescott wasn't in there, but they still had everybody starting on defense. It's not like they're getting back anybody on defense who played against that Eagles team. I don't know. It's just like now at the beginning of the season, I was worried, right? Because I'm like an Eagles fan, but I'm like a realist. And I was like, oh man, like they look really good, but then there's sometimes they do bad stuff. This game was there were so many penalties on the Eagles' offensive line that I was like, oh man, this is what's going to kill us. And then they still won by 25 points. And again, for weeks, it's been like, oh, when Jalen Hurts, when they stop him from running, what's he like? He can't pass. He's not a good passer. He's only rushed in this game.
He can pass.
Yeah. He only rushed in this game 5 carries for 12 yards. One of those was a touchdown. And then he threw for 380 yards 29 times, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Like that, if Patrick Mahomes did this when they played the Titans, the last Chiefs-Titans game, everybody would be like, Patrick Mahomes is a god. He's the clear MVP. Like 4 touchdowns against the Titans, blah, blah, blah. But remember, the Titans defense held Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to what, 13 points?
Keep on with this rant. I'm going to let my dog out. I love it. Just keep going. Keep going.
Miles Sanders, the Titans we talked about had a great run defense, right? That's why everybody, and I mean everybody, including myself, was picking the Titans to win, right? Because the Titans have this vaunted rush defense, and the rush defense of the Titans it actually held up. Like they actually did shut down the Eagles' rushing attack. Miles Sanders only had 24 yards. Scott, Gainwell, Hurts had 16, 15, 14. But what nobody was expecting was Hurts to just have the best passing game of his career by a mile.
Well, I
And
mean, I did, because I've
you
talked
actually
about
did
this.
call it. Yeah.
I've talked about this before. Jalen Hurts. The only thing that, and you were right. The only thing that was off was the was the rush defense. And I was like, okay, that fine. I'll give you that. That's their one flaw on the team. But Hurts showed you earlier in the season that he could throw. Obviously, he can run. The defense is legit. The special teams is really good. But you had some holes in defense, which now you covered. I mean, you've got that taken care of. I mean, Derrick Henry, 30 yards for 11 attempts.
Yeah.
I don't understand how
impressive.
I don't understand how anybody could say that the Eagles aren't the clear favorite. There's no flaw. Now there is no flaw in this team that I can see. I mean, I'm not an ESPN analytics guy who gets that right, but I'm just a person who does the only sports podcast out there and watches football games. But for real, I don't understand. Like, we thought the Titans would, give the Eagles a hard time because they gave the Chiefs a hard time, barely won, and they just couldn't throw the ball in that game. The Titans aren't a bad team. It's like, okay.
No.
And the Eagles' loss was against, again, and that, despite all those penalties and things weren't called, we're still against a good team. I mean, so it's mind-blowing to think Dallas. And yes, let's just jump to that. I want to jump to that. The Dallas did destroy the Colts 59-19. They destroyed them. But at halftime, that was close. This game was really even going into halftime. It was in the fourth quarter. They scored 33 points. That's where your lopside is, and that was because Matt Ryan threw 3 picks. And he's trying to win the game. He's trying to get them back into it. So he's just launching the football.
Yeah. But also, last thing I will say. So read off the Dallas Cowboys points again.
54.
So even with that, with the Sunday night performance of 54 points, the Eagles are still ahead of Dallas in their offense points per game. Now, you can say the 5 games where they had Cooper Rush, they didn't score that many touchdowns. This was also the Philadelphia Eagles team that only scored 17 points against the Colts. And they've also had other rough games where they haven't scored, more than 2 touchdowns. So,
right. And are people forgetting? The Eagles are obviously going to win that division unless they just stumble and the Cowboys beat them, and then the Eagles lose to the Giants. So I just saying that crazy absurd.
Possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Currently, the Cowboys are the 5th seed. They're the 5th seed. So as of right now, who would they have to play? Being the wild card. How would that? I don't know how the new system works with the 7, but what is it? 6 and 7 and 6 have to fight each other for something.
So 5 and 4. So I believe right now it would be the Cowboys would have to face the Niners. I believe that's how it would shake out.
So, I mean, they don't have the easiest road, and they're not going to have a home game being a wild card through the entire playoffs. And you still expect them to make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl as the number 1. It's mind blowing. The Vikings, yes, we're saying that they're not the best team, but hey, you have to go through the Vikings. The Vikings play good at home. They always do, and they find ways to win. That'll be a tough game. If you have to play the Niners, you have to play the Niners down
crazy
in San
defense.
Francisco.
Yeah,
crazy defense. Good luck. The Bucks. So you have to play the Bucks. That's down in the humidity down in Florida, and again, you can never count out Brady. The Eagles, who have already beat you, the Giants and the Seahawks, which you never know. And if it's not the Giants, it's the Commanders. And it's mind-blowing that people think that the Cowboys are going to win. The NFC, all the teams, wild card up, including the Commanders. So you say, and I will honestly throw the Lions in there. You say the 8 teams outside of you that are in the top 9, I could see the Cowboys struggling with, and literally you're like, okay, they have to perform to win. And that's going with any of those teams. Like all those teams are really very well evened, except for I would say the Eagles are above everybody else. But outside of that, everybody looks pretty even. Cowboys, they are good. They are slightly better than the majority of those teams, but it doesn't mean that you could just write them off.
And
The
also,
fact they think the fact that they think they're just going to walk into the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl.
No, it's a crazy notion.
I would take Patrick Mahomes. I would take Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati team. I would take the Miami Dolphins. I would take all those teams over the Cowboys. They have not played those type of teams yet. I mean, so let's see so the Cowboys beat the Bengals back in week 2, 20-17.
But remember, that game was the Bengals were still trying to figure out their offensive line because Joe Burrow had like 2 seconds, like 1 second to throw every pass, and they only lost by 3.
And take Dak Prescott. Dak, okay, wasn't playing, but you know what? Dak and Rush are playing the same, because I think Cooper Rush could have done the same thing, because again, it was mainly the defense that won the Cowboys this game last night and blew out the fashion.
Well, also, there was at minimum 5 to 10 passes Dak Prescott threw that could have been intercepted if one of the Colts players literally like had hands. I mean, I think the under talked about story of this Cowboys team is Dak, to me, just looks off. He really does. He just, every game since he's came back, he's thrown 1 or 2 INTs that could have been, every game, he looks like he could throw at least 5 interceptions. Like
so I'm looking at it right now. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm looking at it right now. The Bengals are the only good, and they get to play the Titans in week 17, are the only good AFC team that they have played.
Yeah.
Dude, they have no idea what's coming from them, from Buffalo, from the
Kansas City.
I mean, and they beat the Bengals barely, and that was when they were finding their identity. Like, dude, they think they're just going to walk in, and that's going to be their downfall. They're going to play tough. They're still a good team. I'm not saying they're not a good team. Here's my rant. Like, sorry, I'm going on my rant. They think that they're just going to walk in. Dude, no, because I could legitimately see the Bills, the Chiefs, the Titans, and the Bengals, and the Dolphins, and even the Jets beating. Like, I'm going to take the Ravens out of there because I just don't think that they've got it, especially with their quarterback being out. But those are all tough teams that they haven't played.
Yeah.
I mean, they played
agree.
the Jaguars and beat the Jags. Whoop-de-doo. That's the freaking Jags.
Well, no, they haven't played the Jags yet. They play the Jags in 2 weeks.
Oh, So still, my point is that they haven't played any good AFC team. And the teams that they're playing in the NFC that are better than them, guess what, are beating them.
Yeah. Well, except for the Vikings. But then again, we just talked about the Vikings.
Yeah. Whatever.
So the Cowboys schedule,
I'm over it,
is they play the Texans and Jaguars, and then they play the Eagles in Dallas. So that's going to be the game of the season. I really don't think, even if the division's locked up, I don't think the Eagles go in there with their backups. I think they want to beat Dallas. No. I think they will start them against Dallas, and I'm nervous to play Dallas because it's Dallas and they've owned us the past couple of years. I'm more nervous to play them, not for the game itself, but the Dallas fans are just so, and again, I know there's annoying Eagles fans out there, but the ones I talk to are just like realist Eagles fans. I've never met a Cowboys fan who is not the most confident, delusional person when they're talking about their football team. I've met Eagles fans who are just like, oh, yeah, I don't know. We got to wait and see. I've never met a Cowboys fan who's not like, did you see that last game? We destroyed them. We're going to it's like the Philly fans get such like a bad rap for just being like obnoxious. But
they are.
I mean, they are. I'll give you that. They're obnoxious, but Cowboy fans are obnoxiously confident, which to me is more annoying.
And I feel like, and all the Philly fans that I've met, do I like all of them? No, because they can be
obnoxious.
They're just, they're obnoxious, but a lot of the times, 90% of the time, they're realists as well. Yeah, like, no, our team sucks, but you know what? I don't care. Your team sucks too. We're gonna beat them. I don't know why I went with that accent.
Great accent. Great.
No, yeah, whatever. That's my East Coast accent. That's where it goes.
Yeah, no, that's great. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, I always remember the opening night after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. The next season, they were playing Atlanta opening night, and the team going into halftime was, I think, losing or winning by a field goal, and they were at home, and the home crowd was booing them. And the announcers were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're getting booed. They just won a Super Bowl." And it was just like, the fuck are you talking about? That was last season. Now it's this season and they suck. Why wouldn't they be getting booed going into halftime? Like, I've just always hated that notion of like, the Eagles fans don't appreciate anything. And it's just like, yeah, because we want our team to be good. It's not like the Cowboys where it's just like anytime they do anything, it's like, we're the greatest team that's ever. It's annoying.
Right.
Again, let's move on to the next game.
Because I know that you got to get out of here sooner than later here.
But great rant, Casino. I loved it.
Thank you.
Next up, Broncos Ravens. Broncos 3-9. Ravens 8-4.
This is a boring.
Really the only thing to talk about this game is Lamar Jackson got knocked out of the game almost like immediately. Like, that was, I believe, within the first like 5 minutes of the first quarter. So he is going to need knee surgery.
He had 4 attempts in passing. That was it.
Yeah. So he is having knee surgery. It is not season ending, but again, the season's damn near close to ending. So I don't know when they're expecting him back after having knee surgery. Like, that's concerning, especially for Fantasy Corner. Casino, you want to dive into Fantasy Corner? You got anything?
For him or for me? Like
No, for you. Because for me, he's my starting quarterback in fantasy. So now it's all on Mike White. Go Mike White.
Good pickup.
Yeah, I picked him up because my other quarterback was Russell Wilson, and I dropped him, and nobody has picked him up.
Nice. So I thought I was going to lose this game. I was expected to lose this game. They had 2 players left. They had a Harris for Pitt. And I don't remember, but they had like 2 players left, and I was like, all right, I'm only up like 3 points. It's before the afternoon games were over, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to win. All I have right now is San Fran's defense and Wilson Jr., which only got 0.3 points. I'm like, all right. He had 2 targets for Miami. He didn't do anything with it. So I was like, shit, I'm going to lose. San Fran defense, we talked about it. They had that interception for the touchdown. They had 3 INTs, a touchdown, a forced fumble, and held them to 17 points. 18 points for the San Fran defense. I won by 6 points. They did it for me. I'm super happy. I am now 11-2. I'll take it. I was playing an 8-4 guy, so I'm really, really happy. This is our 3rd place guy, and I beat him, and I'm really stoked about that. And what helped me though is he has Jalen Hurts, but I had Brown. So
it's like anytime he got points, you got points basically.
It was 34.5 points to 32 points. So that kind of washed out. My quarterbacks suck. I have Cousins and Mariota. They did just over 10 points each. So that was fair. But and if anybody knows of a good running back to take,
dude, get the Jets guy. See if he's available.
Who are we talking here again? What's his name?
Isn't it Knight? Let me see. I'll pull it up real quick.
Looks like he's taken already. There's a Johnson.
Let's see. It was
Knight running back.
Zonovan Knight.
Where is he? Oh no, so nobody's got him. So let me. Why is he?
Wow, live Casino making fantasy moves.
Ooh,
on the podcast.
Well, I don't see. It didn't show that he was on any team. If you want to keep talking about something, I'm going to look it up here. I
Yeah.
don't know why he's
So
not picked up.
obviously the story of this game was Lamar Jackson going out. Tyler Huntley came in, actually didn't look bad again against maybe the best defense in the league, the Broncos, which makes their offense much more depressing
Oh no, he's
because
picked up. Shit.
damn. Because Russell Wilson went 17 for 22, 189. They have no rushing attack, really, especially since they released Melvin Gordon, who wasn't doing anything to begin with. So, again, woes continue for the Broncos, only scoring 9 points. If they scored 2 touchdowns, they win this game by 3 points, which is crazy. Well, I guess 4 points. But yeah, let's ride right into mediocrity, which is where they are riding to. Casino, we got 2 more games to talk about because we talked about the Sunday night game. Matt Ryan, I mean, that game was rough to watch, especially by halftime. The Colts wide receivers didn't look like they knew how to catch a football. Matt Ryan looked like Tua, where he was trying to use all his arm strength to get the ball 10 yards. Like,
Yeah.
Matt Ryan looks done. The Colts look like they gave up at halftime. Like, that was a rough watch. We talked about 49ers Dolphins. We talked about Bengals Chiefs. So last game we are ending it on, or our NFL talk, is Raiders Chargers. The now 6-6
we didn't talk
Angeles.
about Seattle Rams, but
Oh, that's right. So let's go to that game first.
we don't have to go too much, but Geno Smith, great, 28 for 39, 367 yards, 3 TDs. Yes, 1 INT, but he looked good compared to Wolford, 14 out of 26, 178 yards, 2 INTs. That team is in shambles.
Well, speaking of the Colts being done, the Rams, we knew going into this game, they are done. They're packing it in for next season.
Teams. Yeah, they are. But man, Geno Smith looked very good. Tyler Lockett and Metcalf only separated by 1 yard in receiving, 128, 127.
Jesus.
Phenomenal. They looked absolutely phenomenal. And then Fant had 42 yards, so they each had a touchdown. Dude, Geno Smith, real deal. I'm excited to see what they do next year. Well done. Well,
I'm excited to see if they get in the playoffs, what seed they are in the playoffs, because we talked about it earlier. They play Panthers next week, which we think they should kill the Panthers. There's no reason why they shouldn't. But
I mean, they are in the wild card. They are 7-5, but it depends on the Commanders and Giants.
Yeah. So Thursday night, December 15th, it's Niners Seahawks, and that's pretty much the division right there, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference between division, wild card, maybe knocked out of the wild card if the other teams around you are winning.
It's exciting.
And then they go Chiefs, Jets, and then Rams again. So they have a 3-week stretch where it's Niners, Chiefs, Jets. Like, that is brutal. They're playing 2 of the best 5 defenses in the league with 49ers and Jets. So we'll see if Geno Smith, really has it. I mean, I feel like he does. He hasn't done the Mariota thing where he's turned into a pumpkin yet. So let's move on to the last game of the day. The 6-6 Los Angeles Chargers lose 20 to the now 5-7 Las Vegas Raiders, 27-20.
And you called this one, though. You said the Raiders play the Chargers hard.
I did. And still didn't pick them. We both picked the Chargers and lost. The Raiders are on a 4-game win streak, I believe. Mm-hmm. They beat Seattle last week. Then they beat the Broncos. Oh, no, they got beat by the Colts. So they've won 3 in a row. Yeah. I don't know what is going on with the Chargers. Again, they do this every fucking year where people pick them as Super Bowl favorites to win the AFC West, to be in the top echelon of AFC teams. And then they always just end up, this year, they're probably going to go 10-7, 9-8. Like, I don't think they win that because they play the Dolphins, the Titans, the Colts, the Rams, the Broncos. So I think they win Colts, Rams, but I could see them losing to the Titans, Dolphins, and Broncos. Just stupid. The Chargers just have stupid games every year where they lose and you're like, how the fuck did they lose that game? I have no idea. What is your takeaway from this game, Casino?
They both are not doing what I expected them to do. Really, I'm disappointed in both teams. Again, the Chargers have a little bit more to lean on. I have a little more to lean on because they did have so many injuries. But they're not fun to watch. I'll be honest.
No.
I've watched multiple of these games from both teams, and they're not. It's not enjoyable to watch.
For some reason, people are still saying they would take Herbert over Hurts. I don't know why. Like Herbert's make some.
Hell no.
Herbert's make some great
in the league right now.
Like Herbert makes some great throws and some unbelievable throws. He just doesn't have that like winning like aura mentality like to me that like Burrow and Hurts does. I just don't see like that kind of fight in him. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's San Diego or I guess now that LA like laid back kind of thing, but he just never comes off to me like when he has the ball in his hands, he's like, I'm going to fucking win this game no matter what. And every time I watch Burrow or Hurts play, both of them just have that like, I don't care what the fuck I have to do. I'm going to go 90 yards right now to win the game. And then they do it. Like Herbert just doesn't have that feeling to me. I don't know why. I don't trust him to win games. I don't know why. That's just like a feeling and looking kind of thing. But
so with that, let's talk about
Casino's ticket watch for Patriots Raiders
that is now at the afternoon game.
It used to be Sunday night, but we talked about it being flexed for Commanders Giants. So we are only 2 weeks away. Or no. Yeah, 2 weeks away. Sunday, December 18th, now at 1 p.m. West Coast time. Patriots at Raiders. It was, let's see, it started at 278, went down to 268, then went up by $10. No. Yes, it went up by $10, and then it
went up again.
Went up to 286, and then finally last week it was 311. What is it now, Casino?
Again, what do you think?
Raiders keep winning. They could sneak their way into the AFC playoffs, but I doubt it. I think the fan base here is loyal, though. I'm going to say it went up, but not by that much. I'm going to say 318.
Wrong at both accounts. It went down. We have a hot flash deal going on right now for 263.
Whoa.
For two people. And then the next best one that's not on the flash deal is 295. But I will at 263, it is dropping and dropping and dropping. And I really think now that it's an afternoon game and got flexed to that, I say by the end of next week, people are going to be trying to get them to start wanting to buy these tickets. They're going to keep going lower and lower.
You're holding off on buying them.
Oh, I probably won't buy until like 2 days before or like the day before.
This is the lowest it's been, Casino. It is a new all-time low.
Right. But as I've said, I have connections inside the arena. So it's basically get in and then we'll be upgraded. So I'm just looking for the cheapest price to get in. But I'm not going to say where my connection is or who my connection is or where I'm going to be, but that's the case.
All right.
So I'm just looking for something cheap. And when I say connection, I mean, it is a connection, but.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not scamming the system here. It's not like a backdoor deal or anything. There's just X amount of tickets available for that person to give out for comps, which he's not going to give to us, but he can get us in as long as we're in the game, but he can't physically give the tickets out like scanned in.
Yeah,
he only has X amount of comps.
All right. We'll talk about
the perks of being Vegas, baby, Vegas born. You know the Vegas people.
We'll talk about NBA, NHL, and World Cup on next episode, because the last thing we're going to talk about before I actually have to get out of here. Usually we're cutting the show early because Casino has to leave.
Well,
Today it's
funny
me.
you say that. My kid is just now waking up, so this is perfect.
So we got 10 minutes here to cover the maybe one of the craziest college football weeks I have seen.
I may not make it. My kid is screaming bloody murder.
All right, you know what? Let's make it a YouTube exclusive tomorrow. We'll talk about the college football.
I'm
all right
up for that. Let's do that.
All right. So, and we'll also talk about the Monday Night Football game. Why not?
Cool.
Yeah. So YouTube exclusive tomorrow. I'm Will.
That we didn't cover today.
Yeah. I'm Will. That's Casino, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. This has been the Only Sports Podcast.
All right,
Adios.